welcome to Find It. My new sign's here. I'm so excited. And it came on the perfect day because I have the perfect guest and I'm pumped about her being here. Who is it? Dr. Kristy Vanacore. She is a psychologist and she's an author of the book called Rewilding. And I wrote a little something about her because she and I had a lovely conversation a few weeks ago. And I was kind of taking notes as I talked to her. And I just wrote a little intro for her. I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to read it. Kristy rises with the sun every day, and she brings light to others in darkness by guiding them to good mental health. How does she do this? We're going to find out. Sit tight. We're going to show her intro, and Dr. Kristy Vanacore will be right back with us. Kristy!
Debbie!
Girlfriends are in the house and we're going to have a great time. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited for you to be here. And you guys that are watching and everyone on replay, she's such a jewel and she offers so much in such a wonderful way, comes at life in a different way, mind, body, and soul. But before we get started, do you remember how we met?
Well, we met through Ken.
Yes.
Right?
Ken Hall. So you were giving a presentation on Grow Live Academy.
Yes.
And I was watching, it was in the summer, and I was watching outside in my gazebo, and I was enthralled in what you were saying. So as the class went on, it started getting dark. And I had my gazebo, it's all enclosed if I zip it. And so I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, toward the end, I'd already heard most of everything that you said. And toward the end, I kind of saw something out of the corner of my eye. And a freaking raccoon had gotten in there. And then I was like, I was muted, thank God. I wasn't disturbing anybody. I was like, oh my God. And then the raccoon was like, oh my God. And it couldn't get out. And that was the end of that.
Oh my God. I remember that. And you typed in, gotta go, like have a raccoon or something.
Gotta go, raccoons in the house. So
like WTF.
Yeah, so I know. I'm like, gosh, she's gonna think I'm a lunatic.
Oh my God.
That's all right. You work with people that need your help all the time. So maybe I just need a little guidance from you.
No,
so
we
anyway,
all need it.
I want you to talk to everybody about what is it that you do and how do you come at it at a different angle maybe than the normal psychologist?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me here. I feel really grateful to be here with you. I adore you. You know that. And also feeling really grateful that you honor my story and you honor my place in this world because, and I'm going to, get into my story in a little bit, but I am in many ways kind of a lone wolf, right? Doing the work that I do very, very differently. And I've had to really go against the grain in some very big ways. And, when I find people like yourself who see the mission and support it and I just feel so grateful. So I just had to start with that. Thank you for seeing me and honoring me and allowing me this platform, to share this work because it's not just important. It is urgent. It is urgently necessary, I believe. So yeah, I was trained as a very traditional Western medical model clinical psychologist, what feels like many moons ago now. And, it became very clear to me very quickly that the system was not really helping anybody. And the interesting thing is that I was seeing the system with two sets of lenses. I was seeing it through the eyes of, a budding practitioner, a budding doctor. And I was also seeing it through the lenses of a consumer in the system. So I suffered with severe, debilitating anxiety, and chronic physical illness from the time I was a child, right? A lot of trauma, very strong trauma history. And, I had reached a point in my life when I was trying to get help. I was right out of college, and I couldn't live that way anymore, because it was either I got help for myself or I was going to end my life, because I could not live that way. It wasn't living. And, ironically, I was learning how to work with people who were in the same position, and the system was failing us both. And I saw that right away. And I could not, I always say this expression, like, once you see, you can't unsee. And I was seeing things that were making me realize that everything that I was being trained to do, everything that I was being indoctrinated with, and that's a strong word, and I use it for a reason, because it was indoctrination. Everything that I was being indoctrinated with was completely false, was separating us from our true self-healing capacities, was taking us out of the driver's seat of our own lives, and was actually making us sick.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, this has to be a different way. And I was the one in my grad school classes, like, raising my hand, like, excuse me, I want to challenge that. Like, excuse me, show me the data. Like, they were done with me because I was challenging a really deeply ingrained system, but I saw through it. I am just grateful that I had the wherewithal, right, from spirit, to be able to see through that matrix. So I decided that I just needed to get out of there. I needed to do what I had to do to just finish there and get out. And once I got out, I wanted to do it differently. I didn't know what that was going to look like at the time, but I knew it needed to be different. And so I stayed the course. I just did things as best I could my way. As I got out of there, I said, okay, it's time for me to learn. I have to learn more. And part of that learning was that I had to unlearn everything that I was trained in. I had to look at what it meant to be healthy. I had to look at what it meant to be human. And so that's what I dove into. And I dove into studies of, human anthropology, quantum physics, neurobiology, like everything, deeper dive. And I dove into the places where they didn't want me to look, the places they wanted to keep hidden. And I started to uncover the truth. And it was through that deep dive, in an effort to both help myself, because I knew I needed to live. I knew from very young that everything that I was experiencing in order to help other people go through very similar things. Right? I knew that I was going to help others through the light of my own wounds. I just knew that. Again, I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I had this trust. I had this sense of knowing that was so deep in my core. And I just held on to that. That is what kept me going during those times when I doubted whether I wanted to be alive. And I said, well, no, I got work to do here. I have work to do.
Wow.
So, I stayed the course, but I dove into all of these layers, and I recognized that what we needed collectively was a rewilding. And the way that I came to define that concept, what that concept means for me, is an emancipation from the indoctrination and the conditioning of dogma, of distraction, of fear, of addiction, of apathy, right? Really freeing ourselves, emancipating ourselves from that, so that we can reclaim the essence of who we truly are, which is boundless joy, creativity, a soul that is ripe with purpose and vision, right? Passion, boundless passion, and potent self-healing capacities. We all have the capacity to heal ourselves from anything, but they don't want us to know that. So once I discovered that, I said, okay, I need to apply this to my own life. I need to help myself, because I need to live so I can share this. This is not mine to keep, it's mine to share.
Right.
I knew that before I could share it in integrity, I had to embody it. And so therein started my very long and oftentimes circuitous journey of embodying everything that I was studying, really truly embodying. So I went back into my shamanic roots, reconnecting with nature in a way that I hadn't in years, right? I mean, and shamanism, reminds us of our innate connection with everything, our essential unity with everything. We are not separate from nature. We are a part of it. We are
I
inextricably.
know. I call you my living, breathing Pocahontas. I do, because you are like, that's how I've explained you to people. I'm like, I don't know how to explain it except she is like Pocahontas. Like, she is of the earth, salt of the earth, like
So,
appreciate, and the getting grounded and all of this stuff that some
yeah.
people will say, that's woo woo, or that's
Yep.
actually, it isn't.
Yep.
It's what we've been untaught,
Correct.
but it's really the most natural way to be. And it's crazy to me, for all of us, and even me, sometimes I'll think, I don't know what's not, and then you think, no, it's the most holistic, natural way to be with the
Yeah.
earth,
Yep.
you know
Yep. It is the essence of who we are. It is truly the essence of who we are. And yeah, like some of this stuff has gotten a bad rap for being, hokey pokey and whatever, like earthy crunchy, but there's science behind all of it. So the way that I do what I do now, and again, it was a long journey of really having to, as I said, embody all of these practices in order to help myself before I can do anything in integrity to try to help anybody else. And what I came to understand again was this connection, this fundamental unity with nature. And then I understood it not just, again, in the way that the spiritualists out there talk about it, but I really began to study and uncover the science behind it, right? So for instance, grounding, right? Earthing, some people call it, when we put our bare feet in the earth. Well, that's just not, something cool to do or something spiritual to do. There's science behind that. The earth's crust is abundant with electrons. What do we need to be healthy and for our cells to be healthy and well? We need electrons. So when we put our bare feet on the earth, it's like a charging station. It's like if we were to take our phone and like drop it on the charging dock, right? We are putting our feet on the charging station and we are actually receiving what we need in order to be alive and to thrive and to function.
Mhm.
So the work that I do is truly a marriage of ancient enduring wisdom and modern science. It's the place where the two intersect
Oh,
and
I
integrate.
love this. This is what I love. I love it, because you're taking what we should understand and learn and what you learned in
Yeah.
school, but then everything else and meeting in the middle. This is good. Okay, give it to us, Kristy.
Yeah, yeah. It's, you know what? It's vital and it's what we've lost. So,
Yeah.
right now, the current statistics is that 86% of Americans are diagnosed with multiple chronic illness, and that is physical illness and psychological illness, which, they separate it that way, right? Mental illness. I think the concept of mental illness is incorrect. It's completely wrong. There is no such thing as mental illness because our mind is not disconnected from our body. We are one system. So all these people that say, do a checkup from your neck up, they're missing the whole picture,
Oh,
right?
wow.
It's mind, body, spirit is one system. So mental health is a misnomer. That's first of all. And because people are out there talking about mental health, that's how it's treated. Let's just treat your mind. It's a mental disorder. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain. None of that is true. None of that is true. And this is science. Again, this is not just some idea that I came up with. This is science. This is what we know to be true, right? Now, 86% of people are walking around with multiple diagnoses. Children, 1 in 2 children right now carry multiple diagnoses for which they're medicated,
Mm.
with drugs, most of which are not FDA approved. Not that I won't get on my soapbox about that, but not that I put too much value on that. But they're not tested. They're not studied in children, and we're putting children on these meds, and we're wondering why our kids are so sick, and we're wondering why our children are being hospitalized, and we wonder why our children, can't sleep at night, are not eating properly, are obese, are diagnosed with brain cancers, and all of these things that are showing up in astronomical proportions. And I
Right.
see this day in and day out, and it's not okay. And so more and more on my mission, again, I started in this place where I was recognizing just how sick people were and how much the system was failing them. And I have just grown more and more passionate about my mission, sadly, as more and more people are getting sick, right? So I am just so, like it is my life's work. I know that is why I am here. I am a missionary of this truth. I am meant to be the one uncovering it. And, one of my shamanic teachers and mentors many years ago told me, she said, Kristy, that which you're called to heal in others, you will need to experience yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's called basically that there's, people call it the path of the wounded healer. People call it, the wounded shaman, whatever it is. I don't put weight on labels and names, but I've recognized that I have had to learn, I've had to unlearn myself. And then all of the wisdom, right? It goes from knowledge in the brain
Yeah.
to embodied wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to then share it. It's not mine to keep, it's mine to share. I am here to teach. And so day in and day out, what my mission is to help people recognize that we are living in this matrix, that we are such slaves to this conditioning, that we have been indoctrinated and fed a whole bunch of lies about what it means to be healthy, about what it means to be well, right? And about who we fundamentally are as humans. No one's talking about the fact that we are fundamentally energy. We are just
Yeah.
energetic beings, right?
Right.
Nobody's talking about that. And anyone who does talk about that, they're told that's woo-woo and crazy, right? Yet it's the foundation of science. So I'm in this unique position where, I am a scientist by training, right? I'm a psychologist, I'm a doctor by training. But I say I'm a medicine woman by initiation and by invitation, and I take that responsibility so incredibly seriously,
I know you
so
do.
seriously. And so I try to show, here's what science shows. Here's what our elders and our ancestors knew. Here's how we can weave them together. And here's how we can rewild. Here's how we can really, truly emancipate ourselves and reclaim our sovereignty. And to do that, we have to remember the roots of where we came from, right? For instance, we have to remember that we are of the earth, that we are of nature, right? That the medicine wheel, the cycles of life, the seasons are what we are. We are circadian beings, right? Everything we do is cyclical, just like it is in nature. If we don't know that about ourselves, how can we possibly take care of ourselves in the way that we are built to be cared for? The answer is we can't, right? So we have to remember the roots. We have to remember who we are and how we function in mind, body, and spirit. We have to understand the energetic beings we are. We have to understand how to work with energy. We have to understand at the physical level that we have a nervous system, right? And what happens when that nervous system is dysregulated? And what happens when that nervous system moves out of a state of tolerance and capacity? What that looks like, right? We have to understand what is happening behind the scenes so that we can make it work for us. And that's what I teach people how to do. So we remember the roots of who we are. That allows us to rekindle our instinctual wisdom. We know ourselves. We know the essence of who we are. Behind the false personality that we hide behind is the truest self, right? Our true self.
Well, I have a big question here because
Yeah.
what do you do when you have a patient come to you who is medicated
Mm-hmm.
and still miserable and feeling sick and not feeling like it's helping?
Yep.
Where do you start?
Yeah. Yeah. So that describes probably more than 50% of people who come to me.
Okay.
They come to me because they've been in the system for so long. They are overly medicated and tired of being medicated because they see it's not helping them, right? And they are sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Okay.
right? They're sick, they're starving, they're stifled, they're suffocated, but they don't know another way, and they come to me, right? So where I start with them. So first of all, I just want to say this: medicine has its place. I'm not one of these that's anti-medicine,
Right.
anti-Western medicine. I'm not, because we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater either, right? And that's why I emphasize this integration.
I
You
love
know,
the blend. The blend. Yes.
it
Medicine has a
has to
place, of
be.
course. Yeah.
It has to be. When I broke my ankle 2 years ago, you better believe I went to the hospital.
Sure. Yeah.
You better believe I was like, dude, get me an MD right now
No
because I'm in
doubt.
freaking pain.
Yeah.
So it has its place, right? But unfortunately, the way that it's being executed right now isn't the way. And people need to know,
Right.
because armed with the knowledge, you can advocate for yourself. You can ask the questions. You can be a participant in your own care. And that's what modern medicine now doesn't allow us to do. It doesn't allow us to be a participant in our own care. We live in a culture that has created dependency on practitioners, dependency on pills, dependency on therapists. My goal is to get people off the couch, off the pills, out into life and thriving. Right.
Amen
So
to
when
that.
somebody comes, imagine that, right? Imagine what it would be like to not be on a therapy couch for 20 years and to be on Prozac for the rest of your life. Like,
Right.
imagine. So when I have a client come to me, and he or she says that story, right? Like, I'm medicated, I'm tired of being this way, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, help me. What I do is I start by teaching. And here's how I start. And I rely on my shamanic roots for this, because it saved my life. If a person had gone to a shaman in a village years ago complaining of any ailments, Eric, I love you too. If you had gone to a shaman and you complained of any ailment, the shaman would ask you 4 questions. When did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? When did you stop believing in the magic of storytelling? And when did you stop finding comfort in silence? And the reason the shaman would ask the client those 4 questions is because those 4 practices, singing, dancing, storytelling, silence, were considered the 4 universal healing salves because they reconnected a person with their soul and with spirit or source. And illness or dis-ease, I'm saying it like that for a reason.
Yeah.
That is the true root of the word, by the way, dis-ease. Illness or dis-ease of any kind was due to a lack of connection with soul and with spirit. And so the shamans believed that we had to work towards that, the healing, that the medicine, right, was to retrieve our soul connection and retrieve our connection with spirit. And how did we do that? We did that through those 4 universal healing salves in nature, of course. So that has guided me, because those 4 things, they might sound like, just fun things to do. There is so much science behind that, right? When we talk about singing, for instance, right? Look at the metaphor. When did you stop having a voice? When did you stop being able to express yourself? When did you stop expressing your truth? The shamans believed you needed to be discerning about every word that came out of your mouth. And it had to come from the heart. From the heart. That's your truth.
Good stuff.
What comes from the mind is not truth.
Mm-mm.
That's fear. What comes from the heart is truth. So when did you stop speaking your truth? And we know science shows us that using the human voice is the most powerful instrument that we own, that exists. Using the human voice, we can tone and tonify every organ of our body and heal disease. This is science, right? So I'm trained in something called vocal resonance. It's using the frequency of the human voice, to connect with the frequencies of the human body. Again, we're only energy, in order to heal, right? So there's the voice. Dancing, right? Yes, dancing is a shit ton of fun.
It is.
But more so than that, dancing is one of the most powerful ways that we can restore a sense of flow and ease in our body. Dis-ease, as I said before, right? Illness, a state of dis-ease. This is the foundation of medicine. It's where the energy in our body has been blocked or is in contraction. There's no state of flow. How do we get healthy? We need to restore ease to the body. Well, dancing is
this is good stuff, Kristy. I got to get in there and just say, I'm digging this because keep going.
So dancing is one way that we can open up cells, muscles, joints, tissues, and release what's stuck, the trauma. Trauma leaves an imprint in our cells. It's cellular imprinting. It's not a heady thing. This is why talk therapy doesn't work. We can't outthink trauma. We can't outtalk trauma. Wow. We have to move it through the body.
Move it,
right?
Move it, girl. Move it through the body.
That's it. So we have to. Looking at the comments.
Yeah.
So we all need to be rewilded. That is for sure. So
I got the wig going. I got the hair all
Me
wild.
too, girl.
Like, let it go.
I wore my belly dancing earrings for today.
You got to teach me how to belly dance. It's on my bucket list. I want to learn how to belly dance.
I'm going to teach you, girl. I'm going to teach you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
But you know what? And the other part of this is I just got to dig in there. You know, like if you're outside all day, if you go hiking or you're doing whatever, and people will say, oh my God, I slept so well that night. I must have really worn myself out. Actually, you're out in nature, you're getting those electrons, you're actually giving your body grounding, which is what it needs. And that's probably why you sleep. It's not that you're overly tired. It's just that your body is craving that and you're giving it what it needs.
Yeah.
The dancing, no one, I don't care. Like you get a certain age and people stop dancing because they're embarrassed or whatever. And I always say, I do not look good when I dance. I mean, it's just a fact. And people have told me. But I don't care. I still do it because it makes me laugh and giggle, like it's fun. And so that's so true. Move your body, use your voice. This is all so good. And it makes so much sense. It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's easy stuff, but we've all forgotten it or we've never been taught this.
Right. Well, that's the thing. See, we knew, right? Our ancestors know. We're born dancers. So you can dance, Debbie. I don't want to hear it.
Well, I can. It just doesn't look good.
We are born dancers. We're born singers because this is the medicine. This is the way that we connect with the essence of our soul, which is boundless joy and unconditional love. This is the way we connect with source, spirit, all that is, right? Yes. And the thing about dancing is, dancing is the universal movement. We all know how to do it. There are core moves of the human body. So when I teach dance and I integrate dance, I've created something called medicine dance. And it is a fusion of somatic experiencing, which is a evidence-based treatment. So I hate that word treatment, but it's an evidence-based practice for trauma because it releases the trauma, the imprinting from the body. So we integrate somatic experiencing, conscious dance, therapeutic dance, modern dance, jazz dance, martial arts, yoga.
Kick your boot. Move your booty and kick their booty.
Yes. And all that, and what we're doing there is we're learning how to work with the energy of the body. We're also dancing to the rhythms of nature. So every season has its own rhythm because again, it's all energy. So we move through the seasons energetically through the body. Again, if we just talk about things with our head, nothing changes.
That makes so much sense, Kristy. I've never, ever heard it put that way.
Yeah. We have to embody it. It's powerful. So there's the dancing, there's the singing, the storytelling component, right? That third universal healing salve. Narrative medicine was the founding father, so to say, it's a weird way to put it, of psychology. Narrative medicine, the story. And where does that story live? It doesn't live in our head. Again, it lives in the body. But telling our story, speaking our truth, and also being a conduit for us to receive the stories of our ancestors so that we can pass it down. There's the medicine. right? Our ancestors sat around a fire ceremony and told stories. That was education. None of this Common Core bullshit. Oh, am I allowed to curse?
I don't care. I'm fine with it. You
None of
let
this
it
Common
out. I
Core
love your
bullshit.
passion. Keep it
Good.
going.
I like to curse because it's passionate.
Yeah.
But none of this Common Core bullshit where everybody is taught a certain way and everybody has to think a certain way and everybody has to sit in a classroom for 100 hours a day. And we wonder why our kids are suffering and our kids are miserable and our kids are treating each other horribly. I mean, that's a whole topic in and of itself. But, you know, our kids are lost. Our kids are confused because we're lost and confused. And the medicine is there. We just have to remember. I help people remember what they have forgotten. So when I talk about singing and dancing and storytelling, silence, what is silence, right? Silence is the ability to sit with yourself, to go inward and get intimate. What does intimate mean? Intimacy. Into me, I see. The
Wow.
capacity to look inward, to reflect on you, what's going on within you energetically, the ability to learn how to remain neutral and non-reactive, the ability to hack your nervous system to bring it back to a state of regulation, right? The ability to sit and allow things to be, right? Calmly and with focus and with intention. That's what that silence practice, that stillness practice is all about. It is vital to our health. So I integrate those healing salves into the work that I do with people. So a client comes to me and I'm asking those questions and I'm beginning the instruction and the unlearning, right? And inevitably, they will tell me when they lost their voice. They will tell me when they stopped dancing. They will tell me when stories were no longer enchanting to them. They will tell me the last time that they remember sitting in silence, you know, and most of the time the silence was fucking terrifying for
It's
them.
scary for them, yeah, because that's
Terrifying.
when all the trauma comes
Yes.
back. Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Or
So
it's always there, but they hear it more loudly, right, when they're in
yeah.
silence.
Yeah.
But
So
then
it's
you
a
teach them how
delicate
to
journey.
the practice of sitting in stillness, but finding peace in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And working not just as a practice, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there. Meditate, meditate, meditate. You know what? That's all lovely and that's all well and good. Um, I don't like to use the word meditation a lot because it has a lot of different connotations to different people. You know, a
Okay.
lot of people think meditation means you have to clear your mind. That's not true at all.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people think to meditate, you have to use a certain mudra with your hands. They call those mudras. You
Yeah.
don't have to do anything like that. You know, I'm about teaching people how to integrate this into their everyday lives,
Right.
right? So you do not have to go to an ashram in India. You do not have to sit, you know, in a sanctuary for 6 hours and meditate in order to reach these states. You don't have to do that. There is a way to integrate it. It is rewilding, but a huge component of me teaching rewilding is helping people to integrate this into modern times. Because look, we are where we are, right? And as much as I want to change the world, it is what it is. We're here for a reason. And so there is a way for us to integrate these practices into our day-to-day lives, right? So I take people on a journey. And where are we going on that journey? Back home to themselves. Because
Find it.
find it. Yes, because every person who comes to me, they're not sick. They're just disconnected. We have to retrieve their soul. We
This is
have to bring
powerful.
them back
This
to
is powerful.
themselves.
We got
So
to
the
find our
people,
way back to ourselves.
yes.
So when you are, so I've had some questions with, and I hope Shirley's watching. I don't know if she's here or not, but um, questions about, there's bullying in schools, and you had mentioned earlier that they're lost. Oh,
Hi,
hi, Shirley.
Shirley. Hi,
And
sweetie.
kids are lost, right? And because adults are also lost, a large population have lost themselves. We need to find our way. So I feel like everything that you've said, I would like to go on that journey myself with my children. And
Yeah.
especially if my children were younger, and surely maybe this is something that you can watch back and maybe do along with, you know, your family, which is the singing, the dancing. And it's not just like what is it? I mean, I'm not trying to downplay it, but
No, I get
like,
it.
it's not like just like, hey, so you have to intentionally do this.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to intentionally do it. But here's the thing. I think the first step, and I say this about everything, the first step is we have to expand our consciousness around this, meaning we have to understand it, right? We have to recognize what it is we're doing here. We have to understand where we lost our way, right? And that doesn't mean, by the way, that we need to go back and excavate 20 years of trauma on a therapy couch. No, we don't. We don't. You know, we don't have to go back through every memory. We don't have to do that.
Right.
But we do have to understand what happened to us. We do have to understand the disconnection. So for instance, using the example of the bullying, right? We do have to understand that right now, our children are in crisis. All of our children are in crisis. Okay. And we need to understand that this is happening at a very macro level here. So this isn't in your kid's school or my kid's school. This is happening big picture because we're in collective crisis. Okay. And here's, I wish we had like hours, Debbie, because I would love to talk about this, and I'm going to try to be succinct with this. But one of the reasons why we are in collective crisis, just one of the reasons, again, is we're so disconnected from our roots. Part of that is, for instance, for women, we are so disconnected from our innate feminine power. Now, I don't use that word. I am not on here as some radical feminist talking about, go ladies. I don't do that bullshit. And I'm sorry to say it, but it is bullshit. I talk about what it really means energetically to be so connected with your feminine energy, right? And men have their feminine energy as well, right? Years ago, the women, right, when they were so connected to their feminine, there's a softness, there's a nurturing. They're the ones that taught the children their values, their morals. They're the ones that taught children prayer and connection with spirit,
Right.
right? They're the ones that cultivated the ceremony and the ritual, right? We are lacking that so much now. Women are so damn confused. And look, I have lived this myself, because we are taught now that those things like teaching prayers and cooking dinner and weaving are far too mundane for what we're capable of. We are taught now that we should be out there busting through glass ceilings. We are taught that we are supposed to be out there like boss babes and taking over the world and doing all the things just because we can, right? And look, women are so powerful, but what makes women powerful is not what we've been conditioned to believe now in these modern times,
Right.
right?
There's a lot of
And
truth to that, Kristy. Just because you can doesn't mean you have to. And if you decide you want to, you can still do it with a grace and femininity that's within you too.
that's
You don't have
right.
to like be a ball buster.
Right. That sense of flow, women embody in their feminine, women embody the element of water. Again, we're all connected to nature, right? This is the 5 elements. Women embody water. There's flow, right? But water can also be a force,
Oh, yeah.
right? To be reckoned with. Yeah. So this isn't about being passive, but this is about being so connected with that beautiful, nourishing, receptive energy that allows us to take care of ourselves, to nurture ourselves, to grow the baby, should we choose to do that, right? To leave our legacy for the generation after us. Women now are working 3 jobs, busting their ass, trying to prove themselves. And I was there.
Yeah.
I was there. I was told you're not making enough money. I was told you got to do more. I was told by my mother, never rely on a man, make your own damn money. My mother told me before I got married, I never want you to have a bank account with a man. When you get married, you better have your own money. And she drilled that in me. And I was like, okay. So I fell right into that hustle culture trap. And that nearly cost me my life, literally, right? So I had to restore energetic balance. It goes back to that singing, dancing, storytelling, silence. But the point I'm making here as it related to the bullying is that our homes look different. right? Our homes look different. Men are so confused. Men are taught, go out and be the breadwinner, but be soft and nurturing. Men have no idea, right? They're lost. They're confused.
Yeah.
I will tell you that some of my most rewarding work right now is my work with men, because seeing their willingness to come in and say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm burning out. What can I do? How can I help myself? You know, I want to be supportive for my wife, for my partner, for my
Mm.
children. I want to, you know, do all the things and be ambitious, but yet I'm killing myself. And I'm suffering from cardiac disease now, and I need to take melatonin to sleep, and
Mm.
I'm on Prozac and all these things. And it's like, no, we don't need to live that way. So our children are growing up around adults who are so confused, who are so lost, and the world that we're living in wants us to be confused so that we can be dependent, right? We have a system that wants us to be dependent on a government, that wants us to be dependent on pills, that wants us to be dependent on practitioners, that does not want us to have sovereignty. Our children sit in schools all day that resemble prisons. Most school buildings are so overcrowded, they've had to build annexes and they don't have windows. These children are getting no light.
Mm.
They're not getting up and walking. They've done away with recess. They've done away with art. Okay. These kids are institutionalized and then they're being indoctrinated with a common core curriculum. Okay. That's a
Right.
standardized set of instruction under the assumption that every kid learns the same way, which we know simply is not
That
true,
is not true. Right.
right? So now our kids are coming home to a household where their parents are totally lost, confused, overwhelmed, and inundated with good intention, by the way,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely.
Okay, but it's just what happens. Then they're going to school. The teachers are pressured, overworked, overwhelmed, trying desperately to navigate a very broken system.
Yeah.
Then we have a healthcare system that tells you just medicate your kids, will deal with the side effects with more medication, right? So
Basically.
we have broken systems at every turn. So when we look at why our kids, let's say, are being nasty to one another, there is no modeling. These children are living life fractionated and like empty vessels, like most adults are walking around empty, right? Shells of a human. They're not taking the time to get intimate with themselves. Into me, I see, right? They're distracted. We're addicted. We're on our phones. We're seeking out here. We're worrying about what everyone else is doing. We have no relationship with ourselves. We have no relationship with the natural world, which is what we are a part of. It's where we came from. Our roots have been severed, and we wonder why the fruit doesn't grow, right? I mean, think
It's,
about
I
it.
mean, I am listening to you. And while I've touched on it a little bit, like seeing the school systems, the Common Core, all of this, and the school shootings, the bullying, now it's everywhere.
Yeah,
And I'm like, gosh, they took prayer out of school. I'm thinking, I'm going all this, but the way you just described it, it makes so much sense.
yeah,
I mean, we are all flailing around like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, uh, that's incredible. I have your book cover right here. I
Mm,
wanted to pull this up,
thank you.
and this is not just for women, and then
Right.
you have male clients too, but
Yep.
this is basically what you have found. And the other thing that I love is the fact of your transparency and talking about that you have had trauma and you are healing from. And,
Yes.
I've had people say, and including my son who suffered with depression, say, I want to be a psychologist, but who wants to go to a psychologist who can't get his own shit together? And I'm like,
That's
wait,
right.
what you said, I'm going to make sure he watches this because it's about your own path that you've walked and the hurts and the trauma that you've had. When you said you had to go through that so you could help others through it,
Yes.
that makes so much sense. And also I told my son, when you get to that point where you're helping people and they'll know, I mean, what they're feeling, what they're going, I
Yeah.
mean, on a different level, everyone's situation's different, but you know that hurt, you know that sadness. So
Yes.
the empathy that you have for other people is so much more incredible because you've walked that path.
That's right. That's right. People who come to me, I have a mentorship program. I call it my mentorship for aspiring world servers. And when people come to me who want to, maybe they're psychologists who realize I want to do this work differently, or maybe they're, I have all kind of entrepreneurs. I have business people. People come to me say, teach me this. And they're ready. They want to read the books. They want to take a workshop, right? They want to study. And I say to them, oh, you're going to study all right. And you're going to read all right. But it's not what you think you're going to read. And it's not the workshop or the course that you think you're signing up for. This is going to be a course in your healing. Because until you walk the walk, you have nothing to offer another human being. And I will tell you, I am so passionate about this. And I know we only have a few minutes left, but I'm just going to say this because it is a huge pet peeve of mine. There are many psychologists, social workers, mental health counselors. There are many people out there doing coaching. Okay. And look, it's beautiful because I truly believe people go into the helping professions with good intention,
Sure.
right? I truly believe that. However, it is very, sadly, very few and far between that the people that are out there on the front lines as the world servers have done their own deep dive. And I always say you cannot take people deeper than you are willing to go yourself. And you are not practicing in integrity if you are not doing the work. And I see it time and time and time again in this industry. And all they're doing is, it's easy for them to look outside of themselves and try to fix you. And then that it totally, exonerates them from having to do any work, right? It'd be so easy. It'd be so easy for me to opt out and just say, well, I'm going to focus on everybody else.
Kristy, did you just recently do some rewilding on yourself? Did you go into a deep, thought healing something? Because I was trying to get a hold of you or something, and you sent me a message like I had some work to do on myself, and now I'm
Yep.
back.
Yep.
And so I love this about you. I love the fact that you're so open and vulnerable and honest that you can say, it's not like you found the key and you're going to be fine from here on out. Like we all still have hard times. And then you have to go
Yep.
back into what you know and
Yep.
practice that.
Yep.
Just like exercise. If you stop exercising, your muscles aren't
Yeah.
going to be strong.
That's
So
it.
it's a practice. You have to do it all the time. We got to keep dancing. We got to keep singing. Use
Yeah.
our voice.
I tell people
Silence.
all the time, right? Healing, you don't get a certificate at the end of this that says you're healed, you're done. If only. We are cyclical beings, right? And just like nature goes through its seasons, right? We start out in winter, which is the death. Spring comes, there's new birth. Summer comes, we're in our height, right? We're in our fire, right? We're in our passion. Fall, things start to slow down and die, and we come back to the death of winter. We die and are reborn sometimes all in one day. And yeah,
That's exactly true.
it's very true.
I mean,
But
it is.
we beat ourselves up for that. We
Yeah.
think that means something is wrong with us, yet the trees do it every damn season.
Yeah.
Right? So we can't forget who we are and where we came from. That's what we're supposed to do. So yeah, I had a situation about 2 months ago where I was having fainting spells. And it seemed to come out of nowhere, although, hindsight's 2020, isn't it? Right. And it could see where the writing on the wall was, where I was not tuning into myself as deeply as I needed to. And I owned that. I wrote about it. I wrote blogs about it. I'm very open about it. I have to walk the talk. I can't just talk it. Right. So I was having these fainting episodes, and, I understood that, okay, this is a physical symptom. But I teach that all physical symptoms, right, are just a warning sign. It's an invitation for us to look deeper within. Again, intimacy. And I had to look at my life and say, okay, where am I living out of alignment? Where am I in a state of dis-ease in my inner world and in my outer world? And I had to get radically honest with myself. So in order to do that, I needed to take a step away from my work with others, right? Because I had nothing to offer in that moment. Could I have shown up and done this work? I've been doing this work for 25 years. Of course I could have, right? But I would not be offering the best of myself. I would not have been a clear channel for spirit to speak through me, for me to be so tuned into my clients. I am like, bam, right
Yeah.
into you when you are with me. I am tuning in energetically, right? I could not do that. So I had to tell my clients the truth. I am having a healing crisis right now. I need to step away.
Yeah.
And I needed to press pause and I needed to go in. Into me, I see. And it's like looking in a mirror. It's like stripping naked. And I did this literally and figuratively. Stripping naked and staring at every part of yourself in the mirror. Facing the truth, right? Facing the fear. The fear. Holy shit, the fear, right? And just staring it in the face and allowing it to be there and asking it, what are you teaching me? How can I grow from this? What is being asked of me right now? Right? And that is how I find my way back to then, okay, what do I need to do with my voice? What do I need to do with my body to move? How do I need to re-engage the enchantment of story? How do I need to come back to silence and presence, right? But it starts first by exposing myself to myself.
Wow. The self-awareness that you have to have, that can be scary, to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
But when you do that, we have Shirley Gallagher saying, is there
Yeah.
anything available to help children or teenagers to
Yes.
learn to connect with themselves?
Yes. Yes. Shirley, yes. The answer is yes. It seems hard and impossible because our kids, again, are living in this world where their peers are, everything is about their peers. But yes, there are ways. I mean, I teach this to children as young as 5 years old. So there is a way to help children to learn. And the way that I do it is I start by teaching them, kids, by definition, children are very egocentric, meaning the world revolves around them. Anyone who's a mom or dad will tell you that they know that to be true, right?
Yeah.
So kids are egocentric, world revolves around them, but they're supposed to be at that developmental period, right? So they love to learn about themselves. So the way that I approach this work with children is I start by teaching them. I say, listen, here's the deal. I'm going to teach you how your mind works. I'm going to teach you how your body works. I'm going to teach you how the two work together. They are instantly, I don't care who the kid is, I
Yeah.
don't care what they have going on,
Mm-hmm.
that gets them intrigued. They're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to teach me about me? I'm going to know more. You want to know more about me? Oh, okay. And I start teaching them and they're blown away because they've never learned this before, right? I don't care what school they go to. They've never been taught how their mind, body, spirit works together. They've not been, right? So I start by teaching them and I start by engaging them in very small ways. I meet them where they're at. Some kids come to me ready. Some kids come to me with the hood over their head. You could barely see their eyes. They don't even want to look at me. They don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be there. You can still engage those kids. But I'm going to tell you, Shirley, and Shirley, I would encourage you. You can reach out to me privately. I know we only have a certain amount of time here, and I would be so honored to speak to you. So please reach out to me, and we can talk more about this. But the point I want to make, the point I want to leave you with is, although there are ways that we can engage children and teens directly, I tell parents that the most important and powerful thing that you can do for your children is to rewild yourself. That is the legacy that you leave for them. Okay. Actions speak louder than words, as they say. If you want to create something, it's like be the change you want to see in the world, right? Our children are our greatest teachers. When our children are experiencing something, that is an invitation for us as their parents to look at our own lives, right? To see where we can learn something from that. Where are we not in alignment? Where are we maybe, not speaking our truth? Where are we maybe hiding? Where are we feeling insecure? Where are we feeling bullied? So yes, we can help our kids directly, but I'm going to tell you that some incredibly powerful changes have come from children. And by the way, I've seen this in my own children with myself. I have two boys. I have a 14-and-a-half-year-old and a 12-year-old. And I have had to practice this myself, right? That my children are learning what they see. And not only what they see, remember, everything is energy. And science shows us that our nervous systems co-regulate. If your child is dysregulated and you're one of the people spending the most time with them, you got to look at yourself, not in a blaming way.
No.
This isn't a blaming way.
No.
Just in a loving way that says, wow, this child is my teacher, whether they're 2 or 20. This child is my teacher. How can I learn from them?
I've learned so much from my kids. I say that all the time. And that's a great thing that you're saying and bringing up. And it's not in a blame way, like you said.
No.
But like, even if you're on the other end of the bullying and your child is taking it extremely hard.
Yeah.
What is that saying to us? That they have to find themselves and find that inner confidence to be able to overcome what it's hard. I mean, like you said, they're in a building with no windows half the time. They're all stuck together. If someone's being mean to you, I'd probably freak out.
Yeah.
It's
but
so
they
difficult.
have to find their anchor. Again, we've all lost our way. What is that anchoring? It's in our roots. So when I say remember our roots, I mean that literally and as a metaphor, right? Remember our roots. We have to remember where we came from. Our root system is what holds us in place. It's our anchor, right? It's the essence of who we are. It's that place of truth inside of us. It's the place that would allow us to say, well, what anybody else thinks of me isn't my business.
That's
what anybody
so true.
Else, right?
And I tell my kids all the time what you just said. Remember who you are.
Yeah.
That you
but it's
are
very hard to know in a world that is setting you up to be disconnected from yourself, that is purposely distracting you. I mean, what are these devices?
Yeah.
They're distraction tools, right? We all suffer from addiction right now. And I'm not downplaying, somebody who's addicted to a substance and all that. I mean, I know addiction, all too well, personally, and in my family. But we are all suffering from addiction because by definition, addiction is distraction. And we're all distracted from what? From ourselves. From ourselves. Every time we're scrolling, every time we are doing something other than getting so intimate into me, I see, or connecting with the natural world, which is who we are in a state of distraction. And yes, humans are relational and we're meant to be in relationship, right? But we have to do so in a way that comes from that place of authenticity, that comes from us truly knowing ourselves. I can't truly see you if I don't see me. So if one child sees another child and is, treating them horribly and all that, well, that shows us that child who's the bully essentially has no relationship with himself. Because if he did, he would know that target, the kid he's targeting, is no different than him. It is actually a mirror image of him. Our external world is a projection of our internal world. Right?
Man, gosh, I'm gonna watch this back again. Like, preach it, sister. Let me tell you, you got it. You got it straight. And almost all evil comes from not really fully knowing who you are and loving yourself. And then a lot of ugliness comes out of that if you don't.
Right.
So,
right.
So I want to, I had taken notes, but from when we talked, because I know like some of the things that you said when we were on the phone, I was like, oh, that's so good. Issues in the tissues. And
yes,
you've already talked about moving with the season and women who see other women as a threat and what that means. We talked about that. Find your soul's vision. If you're on a vision quest, on a vision quest, meet people where they are. You touched on that because you can't teach somebody something that you think they need to know until they're ready.
Yeah.
Anxiety is stored survival stress.
Woo! You got it, Debbie.
These are all things you said when we were on the phone. And I was just
Were you
writing.
writing? What were
I was
you doing?
writing those things because I'm like, she is so powerful. We haven't even touched the surface with what you have to offer. I would really love to invite you back one day
I would
when
love
you
that.
can.
I
And
would
we'll
love
just
that.
go and I now people know who you are and they'll come and ask questions. And
Yes.
thanks, Shirley, for being so transparent and coming on and asking your questions. I so appreciate you and
Yes,
everyone else that
Shirley,
joined
thank
us
you.
tonight.
Yeah.
I know there's been several people in and out. And do you want to leave us with some? Debbie found it. I did. I found Kristy Vanacore. My doctor is in the house. To leave us with the theme, which is find it. Let's give a recap of what you have found that you can inspire us to find it too.
Yeah. So we have to, again, I just keep saying, reconnect with our roots, right? We have to find who we are and where we came from. We have to find the courage. We have to find the courage every day, and it's there, it's in us, to go against the grain, to awaken ourselves to alternatives, right? We have to find the courage to make a choice, to separate ourselves from the distraction and the conditioning, to come back to our essence, to come back to the truth of who we are. And it's a courageous choice that we must make every day, right? So we have to reach down deep and find that courage to step outside the matrix and do things our way. See that there's a different way. Connect with people who are there showing you it's a different way. Have the courage to do it differently.
Find it, baby. We have found it tonight because of you. I just adore you. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you again, same time, new guest next week. Thank you again, and
thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome. See you next week.
That floats around me, keeping me